My health plan, my disabilities agenda, all of the policies I've put forward have one unifying principle. We are all in this together in America, and it's time we start acting like that again. I do not believe in the Bush Republican policy of you're in this on your own. They call it the ownership society. And they are trying to put the entire burden of coping with all of life's unpredictable events on the individual. That was what was behind their attempt to privatize Social Security. That is what is behind their efforts to cut back on supports and other systems that enable people to fulfill their God-given potential. Well, I believe that whenever anyone in America can't live up to his or her potential, that diminishes all of us. We owe our people wise, sensible policies that recognize the dignity, the value, and the humanity of all Americans. I know that's what most Americans believe. We just need our political system once again to show the leadership necessary to make it happen. I am excited. I am excited by my campaign because of the broad support that I am receiving from across New Hampshire. But I know that we have a very tough 2 months plus to go. And I'm going to do everything I can to travel this state, to meet with as many citizens as possible, to answer your questions. But one thing that I am proud to be representing is the change that Americans deserve to have. Now, change is just a word if you don't have the strength and experience to make it happen. But I don't know any people who are stronger than people with disabilities, who get up every single day, do the best they can, reach out to others, and I want to recognize that strength. So yes, kindness is called for from all of us to one another. I believe that we've got to get back to treating each other with that sense of recognition and respect. But never forget that justice is at the core of the American dream. And we must once again stand for justice here at home and around the world. Thank you all very much, and God bless you. Thank you. Thank you. Now, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And I know that Ted has some questions, so I think we'll turn to him.
Senator Clinton, thank you very much for joining us today. The first question is from Debbie Kreider of Stoddard, New Hampshire. She asks, what steps would you take to fill key leadership roles in your administration with people with disabilities and individuals who understand disability issues?
Well, I will certainly aggressively reach out and seek people who have the talent, the qualifications, the drive, who can fulfill these leadership positions. And I will be casting a very wide net, asking the disability community to provide recommendations. I was very proud that during the Clinton administration, key positions were held by people with disabilities. And they weren't all positions that had to do with people with disabilities. They were broadly based positions. And I think that we have a great opportunity here with a change in administration that I'm confident will happen January 20th, 2009, to once again have our government reflect the very best of our country. So I will certainly be looking to groups like this and others throughout America to provide the names of those who have expertise and experience and the qualifications necessary to serve in my administration. And it will be an administration that not only aims to hire 100,000 people with disabilities, but aims to have leaders with disabilities in our country.
The second question I have, and please, ladies and gentlemen, when you fill out these question cards, please put your name on the card so I can recognize you as the question asker. But regarding long-term care, many seniors are unable to stay in their own homes since there are not enough services or caretakers. As president, what will you do to make sure that services can be provided in people's homes?
Well, it's one of the questions that I hear everywhere. Because, of course, as people age, they often acquire certain disabilities. So it's not only the disability community that is deeply concerned about this, it is the aging of America that is requiring us to address this issue. Well, the Community Choices Act is a good down payment in what we need to do. We have for too long supported an institutional bias toward institutional care. It's the most expensive care, and in many ways it's the least useful kind of care in keeping people involved in their communities, their families, active insofar as they are able to be. So I will vigorously enforce the Community Choices Law. There are several other things we need to do. In order to have more home-based and community-based care, we have to work hard to create those options. And we don't have enough. I mean, that's one of the reasons why people have a fallback position to institutional care. So we need to have a really concerted effort that is not only from the federal government, but also state and local governments, because a lot of the ultimate decisions about whether we have more community and home-based care rest with decisions made at the state and local level. So I want a partnership. Now that we're going to try to change the bias in the Medicare and Medicaid system, we need to provide the tools, the technical assistance, the understanding that will promote that kind of change and provide those options. I worked for nearly 5 years to pass my legislation called the Lifespan Respite Act, the Lifespan Respite Care Act. And I know that that was something that many of you helped me with. I can hear from the applause that you were aware of and working on this. The idea behind it is pretty simple. Every year, we have about $300 billion of free care given to individuals with disabilities and illnesses. That care is given by family members. It takes a financial toll on the family. It takes a physical toll. It takes an emotional toll. And we don't do much to support the caregivers. It will be difficult to transition to more home-based care if we don't do more for the caregivers. So we can change a system, but we have to support the caregivers. So the Lifespan Respite Care Act is a down payment on that. It became law. It authorizes the Secretary of Health and Human Services to start developing these respite care programs at the state and local levels. Also, we have to help states comply with the Olmstead decision. That was a decision that basically said what all of us believe, that we should be moving people from more restrictive institutional settings to less restrictive community-based, home-based settings. We've got to pay attention to this. I mean, it's no good having a law if we're not working to enforce it. So I intend to ask the Office of Civil Rights to enforce this law, to ensure the safety and the security of people with disabilities, and do everything we can to implement it. Finally, I think we've got to do more on long-term care insurance. We've got to do more to help provide financial resources for families to plan. One of the most common questions I'm asked by parents of children with disabilities as those children grow older is, how are we going to take care of our child? You know, our child is now in his 20s or her 30s, and what happens to us after we're gone? Sometimes there are other family members who can step in. A lot of times there aren't. So how do we help families plan? In addition to the government assistance that needs to come from federal, state, and local governments, how do we give more tools to families to be prepared? So we have to look at all of this, but I am convinced that if we're serious about it and we begin addressing it as soon as I'm president, we will have some solutions and we'll have some models, we'll have some ways of pointing people to what works, and I invite your help in helping to make that happen.